go ahead and call this business meeting to order. It is 6 o'clock on Wednesday, November 5th. I'll ask you to stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please turn your microphones on. Thank you. Okay. Next up is the amendment and approval of the agenda. I have a few, but
You want to start it off? Go ahead. Or I've got one.
yes, real quick, I apologize. I was going to key in Colin Head here. Just calling you in. We're getting started here.
Okay.
Okay, so a couple of things that I have for changes and consideration is, I'll start with removals. Okay?
Yeah.
I would like to remove number 6 as the public hearing for animal control ordinance adoption.
I'd actually like to make that into a workshop.
That's what I was going to propose.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to propose also.
I think one of the things that that people would appreciate is if we can identify a workshop date as soon as possible for that, so as staff can be prepared.
Can we do next week?
Yes.
I know.
Well, what is next week? Yes. I think we should. I mean, yeah.
Thursday or Friday?
I'm open.
13th or 14th, Pat?
Yeah.
The morning or afternoon of the 13th.
Kind of
Time out. What? Sorry. Week after.
the week after's.
Okay.
Well, the week after we're in AOC. And then the following week is Thanksgiving week, which everybody
I
celebrates
think,
Thanksgiving.
I mean, as long as you guys have time to go through the ordinance and familiarize yourself with it, and then we can, you know, you'll be able to. There are really just a few things that that are new in there. You know, for example, the dog sale stuff that hasn't been changed. That's been on there for 2 years. We'll discuss it, but the real issues are things like kennel size or a few other small things. And so if you go through it, and then we can talk to the public about it. That would be good. It's my fault. I should not have put this forward. It should have been a workshop to start with.
Yeah, and so just for clarification, my understanding is as well is that the ordinance that we adopted in 2023 regarding the sale of certain animals the ordinance wasn't adopted into our code. So we had a standalone ordinance that was separate from our code. And this includes the ordinance into the code. But nonetheless, there's some other things that need to be discussed in there. So let's do this. What we will do is we'll have Natasha put out some dates, and then we'll set that in the next week or two.
Sounds good.
Okay, a couple of other things. Like to poll the approval, poll K and L, and these are bids for the livestock building and fence. They were
Fairgrounds.
Is it the fairgrounds? They were submitted under kind of they were not kind of. They were submitted under an emergency funding thing. There's some procurement rules when we go out to bid for things of that nature, over $250,000 that need to be done a little bit differently. So we have to solicit for sealed bids. not open bids, things of that nature. Now, going under for an emergency funding would suffice, but I don't feel comfortable that this would be an emergency need that qualifies. So if you're okay, I'd like to.
Absolutely.
I do have another question, and you be able to assist with this, Director Fitzgerald. On J, it's within the same context. It's approval of the heating and air conditioning system for the road department. I see there's 2 bids, and these are funds that are way less than the threshold that require what we were just discussing earlier. But I see 2 bids, and I do know that a bid refusal counts. Is there a third bid that we didn't receive in our packet?
Yeah, we didn't. We got several. We got several bid refusals. People chose not to bid. They're out of North Bend.
Okay, so I'll add that to the item, but please inform the finance department at the roads to add those into the bid so we can at least have that in front of us.
Got it. Okay.
And then the only things I have to add,
So you did not pull J?
no,
Okay.
if we have I just wanted to
Sure.
make sure we had that third bid. And a lot of times bid refusals don't often get listed as such, but I just want to make sure. And then we have, I have a couple I'd add. So with the recent vacate of the fair manager, I'd like to add to the consent agenda, and we could put it under K, as out-of-class pay for interim fair manager.
Okay.
And also an RFP for our engineer of record. That can be L.
Can you explain what that is? RFP for engineer of record?
Certainly. So in particular with roads or public works, when you're discussing major construction projects, we have the flexibility of identifying an engineer of record that would provide engineering services for those projects, planned projects, etc., as opposed to for every project having to go out for an engineer's bid.
Okay, got it.
So,
And with that, in that regard, this engineer of record, oftentimes, like if civil will still specialize in a certain type of engineering, but this person's going to be kind of filling this role, this expertise, and they can actually take the steps to bring other specialists in if need be. And so just kind of a level of expertise that we currently lack.
Okay.
So Ted, is this part of our longer-term look at how to enhance the roads and bridges that we've been discussing for a couple months?
It is, Lynn. I knew that you would be excited to hear about bridges. And
Yay.
This is where we're going with it. Yeah.
Thank you.
okay. And then last, but not least, apparently, so with the recent court ruling,
Yeah.
we have the ability, and we ought to, I have a repeal of the order and a replacement with the rulings verbiage. Now, here's the thing. This is something that you guys are going to be seeing. I just handed it to you. So,
Yeah.
I'm open. I'd like to put it on for discussion, if possible. However, unless we would like to have an actual special meeting and give you opportunity to look through this, so that you have more time to provide feedback in a discussion model.
Well, I'd say considering you've probably already combed through this and probably worked with Ted on drafting some of the changes.
Yeah,
So I
But-
wouldn't mind discussing it a little bit tonight, just to get a little bit of feedback
okay.
from you and council. And then if we need to, I might want to take a little bit more time to think it over and then come back at a special meeting to approve.
Certainly.
Okay.
We can put it as 7B.
Good.
Right.
Thank you.
And that's all I have. And that was a lot. I apologize.
Do you have any other changes or additions or anything that you want to make, Mr. Cooper?
No, good to go with these.
I don't have any others. So then with that, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Commissioner Coker.
Aye.
Commissioner Hollinger.
Yes.
And I as well. Okay, next up is public comments. And it looks like we have 4 public comments. So we will start with Dee Ragsdale.
Oh, good evening. Dee Ragsdale,
Yeah.
when it's that way, does it? Dee Ragsdale, Curry County resident. And thank you. So I don't know if you can hear or not.
Totally just pull that thing out if you'd like.
Yeah, is it even on?
Yeah, it's on. I can see the
Really?
light.
Okay, sorry.
So we can hear you, Dee. It may not be recording properly or anything like that, but we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So I have a few questions. I review your expenditure reports every month, and I didn't have a chance, and they were just posted either yesterday or today because I came in earlier this week to look for October. I have several concerns about our expenditures for the county, and I just want to point them out, and I'm really concerned about legal services. There just seems to be a lot of legal services, and maybe that's normal. I don't know, but looking at it, it's we've had insurance costs go up too. So I just looked last October. It looked like our insurance was like 200 and I don't have the number right in front of me, but it was in the 200 range, 40,
Number
50,
every
60. It was 300. I just looked, and I about dropped my $375,000 or something like that. So almost $100,000 our insurance went up. Why? So we are, we've got Corolla Law Group. I don't know exactly what they do, but there was a big charge. There's charges from them. Bulkhalter Legal Services for an OSB matter. I have no idea what that means. Local Government Legal Services for a personnel reason. CIS Trust Legal Services. David Groff Legal Services for an internal investigation. And then a recent with the personal services contract with the law offices of Sarah Chinsky. I just want to know, why do we have so much legal services that are needed? Is something going on that the public needs to know? That's my first question. And then secondly, we're contracting still with the DC lobbyist at $5,050 a month. What are we getting for that? Is there anything going on? Do you report on it? What's he doing for us in DC? Third, we're contracting with Geographic Consultants for land use planning services, ranging, well, it was $5,800 to $7,500, but I just noticed out there it's over $12,000 last month. So what are we getting for that money? What is exactly being done? And why did you just procure Eric and Leif Katola for finance and accounting services for $130,000 just this year to finish out this first fiscal year, and then $182,000 for the next 2 years each? So that's quite a chunk of money, and they're only proposing to work 25 to 27 hours a week. Boy, I'd sure like to make part-time money at that. So I just have concerns about what all of this money, what are we getting for it? And can you ever report on that exactly? What the county, we're paying you and paying this, what's the result? And then the forensic study for county finances, I don't know how much that's going to cost us. So those are my first concerns. And then I had a concern, I was looking at, I'm already 33 minutes? Yes. But I had a little, microphone issue, all right? The budget issue. I'm really concerned about budget and the lack of public involvement that was afforded to the public about the budget process, because I really wanted to see the Moss Adams report that was done looking back at a 10-year history and a 10-year projection of road reserve funds. And I was told in a recent public records request that we didn't pay the Moss Adams anything for that report. Well, in fact, we did, and I want to know but it wasn't completed, so it was a first installment of that payment. What did Moss Adams find? And was that the unlawful transfer of funds from the road reserves to the jail? I don't know. So there's a lot of accountability and transparency that seems to be lacking, and maybe a report to us, because these ad hoc, when we just come and try to, I know this is the only time you guys meet, but perhaps a report to everybody of what the finances are, what you've been spending our money on, and what the results are. That's called accountability and transparency and performance reviews, performance accountability. So what are we getting for all this money that's being spent? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dee.
Thank you.
Andre Bay.
Lynn, thanks for that warm welcome again before the meeting. I appreciate it. I just want to talk about article that came out in Redwood Voice October 16th. It's titled Oregon Judge Weighs In on Dispute Between Curry Board. I think you know which one I'm talking about. The Judge Stone here, he said that the Board of Commission exceeded its authority and the sheriff's not required to attend these meetings, and that the county is not a court. There's no county court. And after that, it talks about how gobsmacked you were about that ruling, Jay. Taken aback, I think is what the word they used. And then farther down in the article, I think this is quoted verbatim, the sheriff hasn't provided any public safety updates since those budget meetings in June. As a result, he said Curry County wasn't able to apply for a jail-based medications for opioid disorder grant for the jail. I stood here many times and asked what you guys wanted for a public safety update, and time after time, you answered the same. And never once anything about grants was talked about. And so we lost this grant. It's $330,000. These are for mandated protocols, state mandated, that now has to come out of our general funds. And I think there's even more grants, maybe close to $2 million worth, I've heard, that we've lost out on. If it's not true, it's not true. One is. And there's no reason for the sheriff to come here and update. So that's what you say. The reason you turned that grant down is because the sheriff wouldn't come here for a public safety update. Maybe they misquoted you. I think there's a three-letter word for what's going on here. You guys know what that word is? Ego. Gotta lose it, man. Thank you.
Go, Andre.
Thank you.
Next is Georgia Cockerham.
During the September 23rd BOC meeting, the commissioners discussed the forensic audit that was ordered from the firm REDW. I read the REDW proposal, and based upon the commissioners' comments, wonder if any of them understood that to which they committed county taxpayers to a fee of up to $150,000. When Commissioner Coker asked whether there are any county departments other than the treasurer that will be tasked for supplying information for the auditor, Mr. Trost responded, and I quote, "Not for this portion, I don't believe. The majority of the information will be available to the auditor through our current treasurer," unquote. Well, I disagree. The proposal clearly provides a requirement to conduct preliminary interviews with designated county staff to gain an understanding of circumstances and records relating to the audited years. It is the County Assessor Wegner's office that is key to the auditor's understanding of the circumstances and records that trigger the necessity for this forensic audit. Why have the three of you decided to intentionally prevent the auditors from a key requirement of their proposal? It is Assessor Wegner and staff who in 2023 discovered multiple errors within the Treasurer's office regarding the distribution and accounting of about $1.1 million. It is Assessor Wegner who can explain these errors and can show that as recent as last June, the erroneous accounting has not been reconciled. When Commissioner Hollinger spoke about the audit proposal to which he agreed, his comment made no sense, and I quote, "So, I kind of see this as, this whole thing is just a phase one. My gut feeling tells me this will continue on past this through other departments, but at what point, I guess, after this, do they get into looking at other monies that we receive," unquote. The public is listening to this. The three of you were alerted to the $1.1 million accounting error in ample time to include it in this past June's budget preparation. You again decided among yourselves to keep the truth hidden from the Budget Committee and from the public. The newspaper recently printed an article the three of you wrote informing the public that the county treasurer has, since taking office 18 months ago, been working to identify, verify, and correct the errors made in accounting of the $1.1 million. And yet, though the assessor submitted to the treasurer in 2020, 2023, and this past June, the complete list of required distributions, the original $1.1 million, as recently as June, was still in the fund. Why has there been no clear reconciliation of these funds? In closing, this will not go away if after spending over $100,000 on taxpayer money on a forensic audit, the results do not reflect pertinent information that the three of you seem to be withholding. I look forward to reading the forensic audit upon completion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bruce Cockerham.
Bruce Cockerham, Brookings. Commissioner Coker, in your recent letter to the editor, you discussed at length the virtues of this Board of Commissioners. You mentioned accountability, participation, equity, superb executive leadership. Easy words to say or write. Soft, feel-good words. Let's consider that last one. Not just leadership, but superb executive leadership. Personally, I haven't seen this. Leaders must know where they want to go and where they wish others to follow. This becomes their vision. Then they must describe and share that vision as well as the steps along the road to achieving it. I've seen none of that brought forward in your actions as a board. Nothing to support leadership, much less superb or executive. Remember, ideals come alive only through actions. We've read and we've heard your words. We're still waiting for your actions that demonstrate those ideals. Without those actions, we have only masterful gaslighting. Another word often used by this board is transparency. Not the best descriptor when discussing public safety. What I've seen and heard has not been transparent. It's more like invisible. Ask the people who live and work outside the incorporated cities. People confronted by increased homelessness and crime, made worse by unavailability of deputies to either respond to calls or investigative follow-up. As of today, as we sit here in this room, there is one patrol deputy left outside of the jail. One. This in a county 100 miles from north to south. Ask yourselves, what have you accomplished during your respective terms of office? How are the people of Curry County safer in their homes and businesses since you assumed office? What specific actions for county residents have you taken to restore the safety that you have diminished through your poorly informed decisions? I served 30 years in law enforcement, nearly half of that at command and executive levels. Here's a hard truth for you. Under your so-called leadership, public safety in unincorporated Curry County is a fiction. It is a fiction written by this board. You've already failed as commissioners, mostly because of hubris. You are a board focused on soft, hollow, feel-good words that can't be linked to anything tangible. You are also fixated on adolescent conflicts with our sheriff. Your lack of success as commissioners is a failure for the entire county.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce. Okay. Commissioner comments. Anybody like to make comments?
For one, I am grateful that we had the opportunity to see really passionate folks gather together and attempt to advance their cause through the recall. I'm also very grateful for the thousands upon thousands upon thousands who stood up and said, no, we're not going down that path. It's not that there isn't a path that we can come together once we decide to work together, but nevertheless, we're not going down that recall path. So I'm grateful for that. I'm also grateful for the fact that that's behind us, and we have now an opportunity to look forward and begin to advance some of the things that are so near and dear to our hearts that our community expects of us, not the least of which is enhancement on a daily basis to law enforcement. But equally important, there are matters associated with addiction levels in our community and homeless. We have mental health and behavioral health issues. We have housing issues that are extraordinarily difficult. And to be able to resolve those matters, we have to be able to affect change in things that are completely out of our control. But I'm grateful that now the deck is clear of one contentious issue, and now it's time to take on those issues that our community cares about and expects us to address with integrity and with strength. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh yeah, just to kind of, I guess, piggyback a little bit on Lynn's comments. You know, with the recall effort not going through, I actually want to thank all of the people in this county who supported me and you. And I also want to thank those that did their own research to understand the facts. And while this process was disappointing in many ways, I want to take a moment to address something that has come to light for me just within the past week. It is deeply concerning that several of the recall petitioners, come to find out, have misled and outright lied to many of the residents in order to obtain signatures in the final moments of obtaining signatures for the recall. Our office has received multiple statements from citizens who say that they were told the petition was about supporting and funding for the sheriff's office, not about recalling the county commissioners. This kind of deception undermines this whole process and has really shaken a lot of the trust in the people who signed those petitions. The foundation of the recall effort was built on misinformation. False claims were spread suggesting that I wanted to take over all of our public lands or bring ICE into Curry County, or that we have a campaign against the sheriff, or that, I blindly support our county legal counsel. These statements are categorically false, and anyone who has followed our meetings and our workings know that they do not reflect reality. The constant stream of lies and false accusations must stop. This small group of individuals continues to twist the truth and promote division rather than focusing on collaboration and the issues that truly matter to our residents. We know what matters. We know public safety matters. We know infrastructure matters. We know financial responsibility matters, as well as the long-term health and success of our county. We deserve to tell the honest dialogue and leadership that's rooted in facts, in respect, and service to the people, and I will continue to remain working in the best interests of our county. I'm glad that is past us now, and we will continue our efforts as we have been.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pat.
A couple of things. Ms. Ragsdale, your comments and concerns are very valid, and I appreciate them. And we will work to be better at explaining some of that. Obviously, when you talk about legal issues, some of those things can't be discussed as they're currently being litigated. But I understand where you're coming from, and I would be more than willing to sit down with you for any amount of time to go through and talk about those concerns as well. The statement about the that Mr. Bay made about the JMOUD grant and losing out in that money, that is true. We did lose out on that grant, and we lost out on that grant because I asked the sheriff to attend the meeting to simply provide assurances that we would have access to all of the information needed to ensure that the grant was administered correctly, as we would be responsible. He failed to even reply. That's not leadership. To Ms. Cockerham, I've yet to ever address any of you in public as you continue to try it, basically defame us in a measure. But in your comments about the $1.1 million that you're hanging on to about the assessor, there was a press release done about that, and it was found that there was there were 3 errors that needed to be corrected from our previous treasurer. There was not $1.1 million sitting around. And it was the Department of Revenue who alerted to this issue. And again, it was before this commission even sat here. Yet we seem to be taking on the brunt of the responsibility. And when this issue came forward, the scope of it was not really understood because, you're right, there was a GL line item with $1.1 million in it, and it was there. So the treasurer had to then, our current treasurer, had to go and research whether or not payments had ever been made. He did find that almost all of the payments had been made with interest, but they were made out of the wrong account. These are systemic issues that we are finding over and over and over. And the issues that weren't resolved was a little over $10,000 to 4-H and $64,000 to the county. That was not distributed. Why? We don't have that person here in front of us to ask. That was corrected, and a 35-cent underpayment to the Winchuck Rural Fire Department. So when we make statements that allude that we are somehow working to cover a $1.1 million line item, it's simply not true. And no, you don't get to speak. I'm sorry, no, you don't, no, you don't.
Of course not, because what you're saying.
No, you're responding now, and I don't
You're
think
out
that
of-
that's appropriate.
You're out of order.
You had a chance, and we let you talk, and now you
So-
will play your role, and we'll play our role.
Mr.
Thank you.
Your role's a little different, Lynn.
So, I had been somewhat on the fence about this, but I think it's appropriate at this time to discuss. And when we talk about transparency, so I'm pretty sure most of you believe in our fiduciary responsibility to be transparent. If you pay for a service, you would expect that that service should be able to describe what it is you will receive. That is kind of normal. It's why you or anyone would expect different from us when we are responsible to ensure that every tax dollar is being used effectively and efficiently as possible, especially when those funds are as limited as ours. So when I left the county in 2018, the county had between 110 and 115 full-time employees. When I returned in 2023, the county had over 150 full-time employees with no additional revenue. I asked, how was that possible? Well, the answer is that they were taking money they were taking general fund money out of the patrol division, putting it into the general fund for other departments, and replacing those funds with road funds. On top of that, they were using an additional $2 million a year in COVID funds and LATCF funds to fund operations specifically in the jail. So when I arrived, and after the cyber attack, the one-time funds were gone, and the road funds were on a pace to be diminished in 4 to 5 years. Reductions had to be made, and now we are back to around 115 full-time employees. That is more sustainable going forward. And yet, we are the ones targeted for recall petitions. In fact, in a recent media article, the chief petitioner stated that the aim of the recall was to instill a new board that will agree to allocate money from the county road fund reserves, quoting, because our new commissioners will listen to us or they'll get recalled.
There's the real truth, right there.
This is interesting because neither of the petitions mentioned we are recalling them because they won't use road funds to fund patrol. What's even more interesting, we are using road funds just at sustainable levels. It was also stated by one of the chief petitioners, a lot of people want law enforcement very bad, especially in the harbor area.
If I recall correctly, didn't we try to accomplish that?
Hold on. We recently set up a workshop with the city of Brookings to discuss having them provide public safety services in harbor that would also focus on transient issues. BPD asked the sheriff to provide statistics so they could have a better understanding of the volume of work. The sheriff failed to provide BPD with any data, and the effort died at that point. In fact, the very effort listed on one of the reasons for the petition of the recall was asking for additional resources for harbor. We budgeted for a CRO to focus on transient-related issues. We currently have 16 applicants for that position. So when you mention homelessness and crime in Harbor, we have a position for that. We budgeted for a civil processor to alleviate that burden from the deputies, and the sheriff refuses to set up interviews. Yet petitioners say we should be recalled for not giving him resources. How can we consider additional resources when he chooses not to utilize the ones we've already provided? In terms of support for law enforcement, I'm not sure anyone in this county gives more than $1,833.33 per month of our salaries to the sheriffs to fund deputies. That's $22,000 a year that each of us give to fund the sheriff's office. In fact, in the last budget, I offered my salary to fund a patrol lieutenant. And to provide some context on the questions we've asked, the list of questions we have asked during budget season were fairly basic, and yet the answers were either withheld or answered with nondescript manner, such as, how many cases does each detective currently have? The answer provided, several. That is not a sufficient answer from someone managing approximately a $10 million budget. So when asked, what are the parameters in which we need information to make good decisions? I guess my answer would be that it is too difficult to know exactly what those parameters are, because we can't predict what information we may need to make the most informed decisions. It is your money, it is my money, it is our community's money, and we should expect to know what we are receiving for the money we allocate on your behalf. Are there questions that are off limits to ask in regards to the delivery of those services? I will say that I take this responsibility very seriously, and when the Budget Committee asks, please provide us with a description of what level of service your department will provide with a 31% cut, and no answers are provided, then 14 days after the budget is adopted, protocols come out that describe that they will only work Monday through Friday, 8 to 6, and only respond to priority calls. Asking them, how did you come to the determination of those protocols? How did you choose the staffing schedule? Do the majority of crimes happen Monday through Friday between 8 to 6 p.m.? Does the public deserve those answers? And make no mistake, there could be very rational answers, but we don't know, nor can we relay them to the public when asked. No one is trying to run the sheriff's office, but we do want to better understand how it's being operated with the money that has been allocated. I do understand if these were not questions posed in the past, but leaders have to be adaptable to being able to provide these answers, particularly when we have been left to fix years of unsustainable spending. When a whistleblower comes forward and alleges what appears to be major indiscretions occurring in the sheriff's office, and the sheriff refuses to provide information that either confirm or deny the allegations, do we just cover our eyes, ears, and mouth and stop asking? When it is our responsibility to best protect the county from potential liability? When actions are taken, such as filing unfounded bar complaints and promoting recall petitions to prevent releasing that information, does that instill confidence or just more questions? In our recent case, the judge ordered that he doesn't have to participate in meetings. People online, and just spoke earlier today, claim that as a win. So let me get this straight. The sheriff hasn't participated in a public meeting in over a year, yet the recall petitioners say it's the commissioners who aren't transparent. The sheriff hasn't provided a public safety update and is responsible for the largest portion of your tax dollars, and we aren't being transparent. And speaking of transparency, we found that our financial controls were fundamentally lacking. Major financial errors were made from 2020 to 2024. And again, we're the bad guys for finding it and reporting it to the public. We learned that fake revenue line item was created so as to not disclose to the public how much state marijuana tax money we had. We disclosed it to the public, and we're not being transparent. The previous treasurer set up a bank account with $1.8 million in it that wasn't disclosed to the county finance department. Then claimed it was okay because he got verbal approval from 2 prior commissioners. And we disclosed this to the public, and we lack transparency. The county ledger was 2 fiscal years behind and was in jeopardy of losing the ODOT contract, which pays for the majority of our road fund, of our road department, and we're the ones who lack transparency. We find over $30 million in bank adjustments over a 2-year period, and we're the bad guys. And before people take to social media chat groups and claim, see, why would the sheriff subject himself to such attacks? I will offer this. Asking questions related to service delivery, how tax dollars are used, or the allegations that are being made are only considered attacks when either you don't know the answer and or you don't want to provide them. I am grateful for the recent ruling and that we will now have court-ordered access to the information that we have been requesting for over a year. I hope it is understood that I am passionate about this, and I know most of you would expect this level of attention and transparency from government. I now have a much clearer understanding of the real intentions of that recall effort. It's not because we were hiding something. It's because we were exposing what had been hidden and chose to budget county tax dollars in a purposeful and sustainable manner. And to answer Mr. Cockerham's statement earlier about there's one patrol deputy, I recently was just cutting a log out of the 101 and 4 patrol deputies, sheriff deputies, were on scene. So there are obviously more than one. That is all that I have.
Yeah, so, I'd say, well, the court, although determined that the sheriff is not required to attend any of our public meetings, I believe that decision it's a loss, and it's not a loss for us. It's not a loss for the sheriff who wants to claim that as a big victory. That's a loss for the people of Curry County. Public participation and collaboration is the cornerstone of effective local government. And when any elected official, especially the one responsible for public safety, chooses not to engage in open dialogue with the board or the community, it limits our collective ability to address the challenges, manage the risk, and work together for the good of the county. And they want to question leadership. They left right. I just want to make note. They left right during the middle of that because they don't want to listen to what the actual truth is. Leaders should show up. Elected officials should show up and participate and collaborate. Our sheriff does none of that. And they want to call him a leader? I've yet to see that.
Yeah, and the thing is there's obviously an incredible amount of frustration, and I would subject it as probably on both sides. And the key is, and it was stated recently, I can't remember exactly who stated it, but it was when entities stop communicating, you stop being productive.
Absolutely.
And I find it interesting that we are being saddled with transparency when we are the ones showing up in front of the public and asking questions and trying to provide some answers. So, first of all, I thank both of you and everybody involved in our effort. And the reality is, we have to heal. And efforts that are being made to continue this are number one. I have little tolerance for that. We've done that. We've gone to court. We know our roles and responsibilities. We've accepted them.
Yeah.
We are ready to move forward.
Yeah.
And I will make you both aware, in that effort, Council Fitzgerald reached out to the sheriff and said, hey, I understand I need to get sieges cleared so that I can best operate within the confines of protecting the county. Please let me know when I can do that. And his request, this was after the judge's order, his request was denied for that opportunity by the sheriff. And I was really hoping for a different outcome. And it doesn't appear to be trending in that direction.
I
So I know we can.
We can't unify without the cooperation of the sheriff.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't want to collaborate and cooperate and unify with us to make things better, I think he should resign. So that we can move forward with somebody who would want to work with us.
Well, he needs to figure out a way to do so, to work forward, work in a progressive manner, looking forward. And
The roles now are very clear.
for sure, I gave that submission of the full-time employees and the increase with no additional revenues from 115 to over 150 over a few-year period. And the expectation was that that would continue. And it's evident. And how are we going to pass a levy or a substantial funding measure to actually heal this budget issue? Because the budget issue is still the budget issue. And the shortfalls are still the shortfalls. Those do not change. But when a group of individuals believe that, well, we don't really have to worry about the shortfalls because we can always just spend the road fund reserves. That's not a sustainable or suitable answer. It's not one that we can press forward with in any manner that sets anybody up for success. That is why we are in the position we are in, because there was unsustainable spending occurring within our operations. And when the money ran out, we were left to solve it. And now we're the enemies because we had to make the hard decisions. And that is a misrepresentation of what we have been working towards this entire time. And so, anyways, I don't mean to belabor. I just want to address those issues and move forward. So, next on the agenda is the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent
Yeah,
agenda.
before we do that, there's just a couple of comments I want to make on the consent agenda. Item E, which was the approval for purchase for road department. A few months back, the road department invited me to go out with them as they were doing chip seal, and I got to watch their whole operation and got to talk with them, and great crew. They did a wonderful job, and I was happy to get to spend a few hours with them. And I asked them, what are some things that I can do to help make your operation better or address? And their two main items were a couple pieces of equipment that they felt were unsafe, and one of them being a trailer for moving heavy equipment, and the other being the loader that they use on a regular basis for almost all of their operations, whether it's moving gravel or it's attaching the broom to sweep off the roads during their work. And a couple months ago, Director Fitzgerald acquired and we purchased a new trailer, which was great. And now this is for a new loader. The other loader, I saw it in operation and it was questionable at best. They weren't comfortable with it, and I expressed that to Director Fitzgerald, and he got a new loader for them to keep them safe. It'll have bucket attachments, broom attachments, and it'll be exactly what they need to make their job site safer, keep themselves safe, and to make the jobs much more efficient and get done in a timely manner. So Ted, thank you very much for doing that for those guys. That's a really big deal, and I also want to congratulate Alicia Busman. She has been a fantastic asset to our planning department. So that promotion is very much deserved. Over the past few months, there's been a pretty good effort to improve and enhance and streamline our planning process in our planning department here. And it's coming along really well. We have a great planner in Zach Moody. We have Alicia and we have Rabia, and now we've hired Rachel, and they are doing a great job making sure that, if there's any backlog, it's minimal, but they're keeping on top of all of the submittals in a timely manner now, which is something that we struggled with in the past with previous administrations as well. So congrats to her, and then I also wanted to say congratulations to Declan Debler, who has helped Luke for this past year with the aquatic safety program. He's done a fantastic job. He's been a great asset. Luke speaks highly of him, and I've had a chance to talk with him several times. So I'm happy we have him at a part-time position now, because before he was solely funded by grant funds. So those guys are doing a great job, and I just want to say congratulations to that program as well.
And just a quick thank you to Natasha for being willing to pick up the ball on the interim fair work. That's on top of her already delegated duties. And obviously, we still have Rabia working on multiple facets, from planning to animal control to council. So
Yeah,
we have some very high-performing shining stars.
we know you can hear us, Natasha. So thank you.
Thank you
I
is
just wanna
right.
say one thing, Patrick, about that loader.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you were around back in 2023 when the storm. It was a little bit later, probably November. No, it was 22, late 22, right after I'd gotten here, and they blew up a motor on one of the 924s, and instead of buying a new one, we fixed it, and we got a few more years of service out of it. And these are all issues. Those are issues that weren't being expressed accurately or sensibly in that Moss Adams audit that had been ordered. And when I looked at the information that had been submitted to Moss Adams, and it didn't include issues like repairing instead of buying all new equipment, I knew that the information that had been provided was flawed, and I didn't even take into account the incredible fluctuations that we've had just since 2022 in the amount of the money comes in at greater and lower rates depending on a lot of things into the road department from the federal government, from the state. Those are all things. That audit was the reason that, and I stopped it. I'm the one who stopped it because I looked at the information and it was flawed and inaccurate. So that's why we didn't pursue it. And again, what we have now, we actually have facts that we can look at, and we can see what the money was that's coming in. We can see that safeguarding our assets at the road department, we're actually increasing road funds.
And the nice thing is, for some of the others, is when I said we allocate road funds to road patrol, we do. And what we've done is we've allocated in the amount of interest that we receive on road funds. And since being able to do that, the road funds have grown, which means in this next fiscal year, we'll have more of a budget to be able to allocate. And as we continue to make that healthy again, we'll be in a position where we'll have some sustainability for future boards to consider. One thing I did want, I completely had failed to mention, Ms. Ragsdale, is about the consultant fees. that we have with our lobbyist in DC. And they were on track to get just over $1.3 million approved through the federal government.
Appropriations funding.
The appropriations funding for jail improvements. And that stalled during this shutdown. So yes, the fruits of that I firmly believe, will be very beneficial to the county, as they had, it seemed they had Merkley and Wyden entering it into their bills.
As well as Rep Hoyle.
Yeah.
is putting
So,
hers as well.
so that was on track to get included in the appropriations to get funding for Curry County to improve the jail. So just a heads up on that. But it stalled out because of the government shutdown. Okay, so with that, any further discussions on the consent agenda?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Nope. All right, I will call for the question. Commissioner Coker,
Aye.
Commissioner Hollinger,
Yes.
and I as well. Next up is the discussion action item of appointing Title VI coordinator and adopting the Title VI plan. Mr. Fitzgerald, this is a little out of my wheelhouse. You're going to have to take the helm. Did we lose you? Are you on mute?
No, I'm here. I gotta go to it. Hang on. Let's see. I gotta get to it here.
Yeah, I have it in front of me. So basically, the county's Title VI plan must be updated. It's a requirement specifically for departments and services that receive federal funding. We need to appoint an individual as the Title VI coordinator, and then adopt the November 5th Title VI plan. So I did look into this a little bit and had some conversations. It sounds like a lot of this is about HR policies, discrimination, making sure that we have essentially a lot of the Title VI language in our policies. So, Ted, is this like potentially like a Miss Swift or Natasha, or where are we looking at
I
here?
think the way I look at it, it's probably going to be one of those people. And so as we've gone through, just in updating the Curry Transit, that the Curry Transit documents, contracts, and so forth, that's a good example where we went in. These things have been in place for years, and nobody's looked at them, and they were not in conformance with Title VI. We had to go through and add a lot of language, and it seems like it's a lot of fine detail work, but it really has been ignored for a long time. And if we want to be, if we want to make sure that we don't lose our potential for funding, we've got to go through this and do that at every level through the county. So that's why we need to appoint somebody and get it going.
Yeah, okay. So do you have any recommendations on who that appointment should be?
Specifically, I don't. I would probably recommend Julie Swift at this time.
Okay. I was thinking in similar fashion. She's has historic knowledge of our policies and procedures. And
Does she have the ability to take on such a detailed role? Or can she delegate at least some of the feet on the street?
I'd be happy to have her. I'd be happy to work with her, and she can delegate to the extent she needs to. But with our limited staffing, I feel like Julie has she's got a real firsthand knowledge of almost every aspect of this part of the county. These agreements and so forth, and I also know that Julie is a trooper, and it's probably a little bit unfair to always dump everything on her, but she'll step up every single time, and then we'll see how that works, and we'll see what kind of help she needs. We can get it for her.
how about this? This was kind of just quasi sent to me through the ether, I guess. What if we appoint a position so that way it can live past whoever may be in it? So,
That sounds good.
You know-
I like that, Rubia. Good.
that was actually Rabia who sent that. Potentially so the HR, we say HR specialist, HR, what position would most qualify to suit for that?
Let us work on that. We'll proceed with this, and then we'll find one. I don't want to be creating a new position. I'd want to incorporate this in an existing position.
Right, but I think the whole point of it being a discussion action item tonight is that we have to actually appoint a person and then adopt the plan or a position.
Yeah.
We could just say appoint an HR representative.
Yeah, appoint an HR representative. Let's do that.
Okay. So the motion would then read, appoint an HR representative as the Title VI coordinator and adopt the November 5, 2025 Title VI plan.
Do you want to make the motion?
Sure. I will move to appoint an HR representative as the Title VI coordinator and adopt the November 5th, 2025 Title VI plan.
And I'll second.
Is there still room to discuss, or is that?
That's what we'll go to right now.
Okay, good. Yeah, Ted, just the experience I've had with getting organizations to comply with civil rights matters as outlined in this particular motion. I'm insensitive and do not understand where we are in terms of a buildup of backlog of nonconformance. And I don't know that anybody around the table is, but I want to be sensitive to the fact that if there is a backlog of tentacles that make up the county agencies that we need to bring into conformance, whether it's transit or whether it's Curry transfer and recycling, whatever it is, if there's a backlog of nonconformance that we're going to try to true up, I think we have to be especially aware of the burden it's going to be for the 3 or 4 or 6 months that it's going to take to dig ourselves out of a hole. And maybe on scale and scope, you can either scare me or make me feel better relative to how big that backlog may or may not be.
Well, I'm not going to make you feel better. Let's put it that way. I think we have a lot to dig out, and I hope that I'll be disappointed. But basically, a lot of the departments that we've discussed tonight have been making their own way without oversight, supervision, or input from say, county council or from outside agencies even that offer guidance. So I think we're probably going to have some wrestling to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. And I'm also worried about once we start correcting stuff, that we're going to turn on yellow lights for people who will find it interesting that Curry is finally doing something in this area. And I wouldn't be surprised that we could create, for the near term, some jeopardy for others outside Curry County looking over our shoulder, trying to get us to hurry up a little bit in order to comply and meet criteria associated with so much of the money that comes to us in the form of grants. And if we're not in compliance on civil rights issues, we really get stung in the rear end. With that in...
I mean, we've experienced that to some degree, and interestingly, we've actually gotten a little bit of when we started stepping up and doing what was required. Sometimes we got a little bit of pushback from the agencies that are administering the grants because they had an existing program in place that they didn't want to have be upset. But the problem is that if we're doing it wrong, and we've been doing it wrong long term, that's just incurring liability for us, and putting us in a position where we can then lose our funding. So yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate you have to sort of just gotta do the hard thing, and that's what we're doing. So
Okay, I just want to walk wisely and recognize that whomever takes on this job, it may be big for the ensuing months.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other further discussion?
Well, you
Sounds
made
like Commissioner Coker's ready to take on a major task. All right.
You didn't hear that, Ted.
Okay.
you made the motion and I've seconded already.
Yep, I will call for the question. Commissioner Coker,
Aye.
Commissioner Hollinger,
Yes.
and I as well. Okay, next is the board order repealing and replacing Board Order 23510 and Order 23619, requiring coordination and cooperation between the Curry County Board of Commissioners and the Curry County Sheriff. So we have essentially created an updated version after the court ruling that reflects the judge's sentiments. So to give you, I mean, I'm sure you guys are very caught up on this situation, but I will tell you that essentially, well, obviously, we were named as the prevailing party in the ruling yesterday. And that Mr. Montag will then write the judgment in the next 28 days, the formal judgment to be filed. The ruling basically stated that items in the original 23510, items 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 were all awarded to the county. Item 5, which item 5 was
Didn't have to attend the meetings.
that the sheriff is required to attend meetings, was removed as a non-required order. And then we litigated number 1 on court on October 29th. The outcome of that was that the judge believed, the judge stated that number 1, which number 1 is promptly make available all records, information, and supporting documents to county legal counsel and the board upon request, was too broad, but needed to be in the board order. And so he stated that we needed to use language similar to what was in number 6 at the time, which was, I don't think it's number 6 in here because it would have pulled forward. It's number 5 that observe all county policies. But the key component of information here is unless specific jurisdiction or exception is discussed with county legal counsel for legality and set forth in writing by the Board of Commissioners or their designee. He stated that he'd like to put guardrails and around that and so what the language was, so promptly make available all records, information, and supporting documents to county legal counsel and the board upon request to the extent that such information is not legally privileged or clearly exempt from disclosure. Should such privileged or disclosure exempt information be requested, the sheriff shall identify the specific documents ineligible for production and shall discuss the restrictions with county legal counsel. So that's the judge's language.
I have a question. You mentioned earlier that Counsel Fitzgerald has requested CJIS clearance in order to be made aware of sensitive documents, and that the sheriff immediately went to try to roadblock Counsel Fitzgerald from getting that access. So,
Well, there's two words there. Immediately and roadblocked. He basically said that he was not going to approve
okay.
Counsel Fitzgerald becoming
So then in
CJIS clear.
the judge's exact words here are that the board may, however, enact a further order which requires the sheriff to furnish documents on request, but also allows the sheriff to identify documents that are subject to restricted access or protected from disclosure and to discuss the restrictions with county counsel. So if Ted doesn't get this clearance, they can't discuss or identify documents that would be deemed protected or
Correct.
sensitive.
Well, so I want to kind of hit this a little bit. Commissioner Coker was in the courtroom, so he saw it firsthand. This entire dialogue, the discussion of what was protected, was the entire purpose of why we were in court. It was the sole purpose. The judge wanted to hear from the sheriff what he believed would be protected information from the county attorney and or the Board of Commissioners. It was relegated down to a couple of things, but it was never really descript. And the one example that was provided to the judge from Sheriff Ward was internal investigation information, which is not criminal justice information. Those are internal documents that would be afforded to us, but he had claimed that they were CJIS documents. So, actually, if you go to the CJIS policy, the actual restricted information, and it's, so I need to also make clear, it's restricted from public record, which makes it very different from being restricted from government or government or attorney access. Okay? There are some things, and they're listed in 4.2, and those are items like gang affiliation information, stalking order information, things of that nature. There's a short list of what is formally protected criminal justice information that you would require a criminal justice information systems background approval. Now, so here's the other piece of this. It's something to kind of understand. And I obviously I'm pretty novice, but it's really relegated around access to the system, not as much to the information. The judge did rule, and I was extremely happy that he put it in his ruling, that, let me pull it up real quick. There was a statement that was made that I thought was very important. I apologize for this. I should have been more prepared to discuss this.
Take your time to find it. You're on a good point.
Well, yeah, I want to, okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. So, one of the things that was stated was, he said, "It is clear to the court that the sheriff has not provided a number of documents requested by county council related to matters of county concern, county property, and within the job duties of council, including risk management. In fact, all 4 of the email requests that had been made on behalf of the whistleblowers' allegations were all deemed essentially to be accessible information." So it was very difficult in the court to even understand or kind of comprehend that what was identified as not accessible. So that's why Judge Stone, advised that we put these guardrails around. And I will say, I agree. I think guardrails around that are, I think it makes the board order better. And that's my opinion.
I just want to cut in and say, by the way, I have never requested CJIS information that I'm aware of. I'm not interested in gang affiliations. I'm not interested in sexual offender status. Those things don't impact county administration. Personnel matters do, non-criminal personnel matters in particular, which are the ones that I was and still am requiring information for. And I will continue until I get that information and can do my job
Well, you're-
as risk manager.
Yeah, so, and that's one of the notes, I wrote here and was gonna bring up is that, yes, legal counsel is the risk manager for the county in all areas. But the other question I have for you, Jay, you were the juvenile director here for the county for a while. You would have had CJIS clearance. Do you still have CJIS clearance?
No, it requires an annual renewal.
Okay, so you're not cleared anymore to be able to. Okay, all right, that was my question. So at least you are very familiar with what all of that.
Well, somewhat. I mean, it's quite a thing, but
Yeah, and I would think that being the risk manager for the county, Ted, that this would be very pertinent for you in order to protect us from liabilities. So
Well,
how do we?
I just want to say, Patrick, I was not aware or inclined that I needed to be CJIS cleared until the sheriff told me in the courtroom on the 29th that the reason that I wasn't getting the information that I required to estimate and control the risk to the county related to actions that have or may have occurred in the sheriff's office was because I was not CJIS cleared. Therefore, I immediately sent an email requesting CJIS clearance to Cynthia Westerman, who is in charge of that through dispatch, and she told me that I would be able to get fingerprinted this next week, and then I received an email. I can't remember, Friday or Monday, saying that the sheriff was denying that. So I've never needed it before. I don't know why. I was just going on what the sheriff told me in the courtroom. So now it turns out that information that I'm entitled to isn't covered by CJIS, so I am entitled to it. So I don't know that I need CJIS clearance, but I am concerned that the sheriff made those statements under oath and in an attempt to again deny me the information, which continues and has continued now for over a year. So I'm going to pursue that as well.
yeah. And
Yeah, Ted, I'd like to comment too, having watched that same testimony of the sheriff's. So I was taken aback by the befuddlement that the sheriff displayed, his obscuring of information relative to the technicalities associated with how CJIS runs, the ability of authorities much like himself and others that he could delegate to be able to get in and extract from that system information that would be suitable to give to a judge, a district attorney, a defendant's attorney. So I listened to that for that morning, and so I went back and I went to the FBI site and I pulled up the CJIS 400 and some odd page manual to see what it was that we were counting on the sheriff to instruct us. And I found in the document pulled up, very clearly there is ample opportunity, empowerment found in the FBI's document for people like the sheriff, like police in metropolitan areas, to be able to configure appropriate information in packages and delivered to people like you, our county council, or other litigators, and for judges, and for the district attorney. This happens day in and day out off of the CJIS system. And here we have Curry County Sheriff saying, in his befuddled, obscure kind of way, I can't give it to you, Ted, because you don't have access to CJIS. I'm sorry, guys and gals, but it was quite an awakening to get into the FBI's book and see just how far afield the council was from our sheriff. Thank you.
yeah, and I do want to update everyone. So when the original opinion came out, right? So this was before the court when the original opinion came out and stated that, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8 are going to be awarded, I sent an email to Sheriff Ward and said, please comply with the recent opinion and promptly work with county council to alleviate the concerns that are within those areas of the board order. And that was, at this point, that was weeks ago, and that has still not been replied to. So, I sincerely hope that the sheriff intends to comply with the judge's orders, and that we can move forward promptly and efficiently. And it may not be, it may not be roses and rainbows, but it can be productive nonetheless.
Yeah.
So, would this body like to have time to review this board order, that we put together?
I would. I've gone through this, and there's been a lot of, and not only conversations Ted and I have had with other state agencies and our insurance provider. The term risk manager is something that needs to be clarified in our documents, and who that actually is.
It's actually in policy. It's already clarified. It's very much clarified.
I think it should be added into this.
Into this document
as well.
Sure. Yeah. So some things that are interesting, will update you on. And you were there when I was providing some of this information. But if you get a chance, look up ORS 206.145.
I'm sorry, give that to me one more time.
It's 206.145. And that is the ORS of the board's authority to appoint counsel. And it also identifies council's authorities through that appointment and through statute. And one of the things that I found to be interesting is that the county council has the powers of the district attorney over all civil matters regarding county business. There were no limits to that authority to protect the county civilly on all matters of county business. There were no carve-outs. And so the thing is here's the thing. Like, I understand, if there's entities that don't like someone or whatever, don't get along, that's whatever, that's fine. But it does not mean that it prohibits us from being able to continue to carry out county business. That's the reality. And it is our duty to appoint that individual, nobody else's. And so if there's individuals who don't like that appointment, I'm sorry. But that does not change the scope to which we need to be able to progress forward.
I agree.
Yeah. So, anyways, so maybe we go to a special meeting, we look at some of the language, we can.
Yeah, I'd like to review this further along with
Okay.
the judgment,
Yeah,
the trial judgment, and
100% respect it. Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
absolutely. On that note, I think it would be appropriate, now that we do have, the judge's, orders in front of us, that we go ahead and direct county council to begin fulfilling those orders.
Yes, I'm in agreement with that. We need to get the documents that he's been withholding from us right away.
We certainly do.
Are you?
I will start on that in the morning.
Do you need anything from us other than just the fact that we're ready to rock and roll and to
No, I got that statute that Jay
Okay.
cited. That is my role, and as I said under oath in court the other day, this board order. I tried to clarify to the judge. The board order is not making new law. The board order is clarifying existing law to individuals that refuse to comply with those laws. We're not. This is not new ground. This is just trying to get across the roles and responsibilities of the various parties that occupy county government, and that's what we're doing here. And so I'll proceed with the order tomorrow.
Yeah, and not only does this just cover, records, but it covers property as well, and states that all property is county assets. So has there already been a request? Because I know we're in the process of doing a countywide inventory of assets. So is this this will be, I would assume, probably what will be addressed going forward, as well as, how many vehicles, what's identified over there.
Everything in the order has been requested numerous times, so I'll just re-request it now based on the judge's ruling, and kind of de novo start there. There's a lot in the order that I was happy to go along with this subsequent litigation, and when I saw that the judge finding originally 2, 3, 4, 5, and 8 were all, whatever it was, were all 5, 6. No, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8, however 6, 7, whatever it was, that were found to be in favor of the county. Those were actually the meat and potatoes of the order, and probably one of the most important things there, that the order acknowledges that the county and each of its departments has existing policies that those departments are bound to follow, and if they want to deviate from those policies, they need to consult with county council about the legal ramifications thereof, and that can ultimately go to the board of commissioners as well. So that's actually what the case law in Oregon says as well, and a lot of elected officials don't seem to be aware of that, but I'm glad it's in the order, because it clarifies things for everybody. So I think that's going to make, what we really should be doing is every department should be looking at its policy and following it, and the policy that's been carefully crafted, often by outside national organizations that have really gone to great lengths to give a guidebook for how a particular department is supposed to perform each individual task to avoid liability and avoid risk and injury to the people that are being impacted by those actions. I think that's probably the most important thing to come out of this, really, is that we're going to be following our existing policy and adhering to it. And if we do that, we're going to have a lot of success.
So I got a follow-up question. So Jay made a statement earlier, not that long ago, that several weeks back now, that he reached out, sent an email to the sheriff, asking, hey, let's work together, let's move forward. The judge has put his opinion down on the declaratory judgment, and now with the trial being over and receiving the final judgment on everything, what happens if there is still no compliance from the sheriff? What if he still chooses not to respond to you or to us, based off of items that the judge clarified for us?
So, my understanding is that if there is a continued non-compliance, then we would essentially file a motion for contempt, and then we would be back in court, and Judge Stone would rule on whether or not the sheriff is held in contempt for not providing the documents.
Okay.
Well, I really think that you have to be careful about saying anything about, I mean, making predictions about that kind of stuff. It all depends on how, what documents are requested or their defenses. So let's
Sure.
proceed in good spirit and go forward in accordance with the judge's ruling and see how far we get, because that's right now we're at the point where we can actually move forward and we can address the liability concerns that are existing against the county right now. And there are in fact two existing cases that I'm aware of that I'm asking about information for, and I desperately need that information so that I can make informed decisions and consult with our insurance company about that.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Ted.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
No.
I know it was a lot. And we do have a transcript from the trial. We will work to get that transcribed and then put on the website where all the rest of the court documents have been stored. Okay, well, with that, we will go ahead and hold off on that, and that takes us to public safety update. And so I would...
I have one.
Okay, go ahead, Ted.
I was driving south today toward Brookings, and I can't remember, about 3 o'clock, something like that, maybe a little bit earlier, and traffic was backed up. There was a giant tree across the road, and I saw Commissioner Jay Trost get out of his truck up ahead of me and reach into his bag of tricks and pull out a chainsaw, and he went and cut the log out of the road, and they got it out of the way before ODOT got there. And I do have to say that as I finally drove through, I did see 4 patrol deputies on site. So I think there's more than one fiction writer in the Cockerham household.
Yeah, so thank you for that. And I will say there was a great response and also community response. When folks started seeing me walk up with a chainsaw, there were several individuals that I knew that jumped out of their cars to go help, and so it was good, and we got everybody was safe.
So that begs a question.
Yeah.
For those of us that are new to the Board of Commissioners, do we have to carry chainsaws in our trunk?
Only if you live on roads where there's often trees down and you have to get there to get to work. That's why you have a chainsaw in your truck.
Safe on that
Pretty much.
I think you're fine.
I walk to work.
My wife carries an electric chainsaw in her car.
How we doing?
So I will say on a public safety note, and I did mention this earlier, and I do want to re-mention it again because I don't know about the two of you, but I receive so many concerns, public safety concerns, related to transient behavior, it's always the same thing. Why can't we do anything? Why can't we do anything? Why can't we do anything? And I just want to reiterate that the CRO position that we have budgeted for is a sworn officer with the ability with arrest powers, and also the ability to connect individuals to services, but also have a level of accountability for derelict and distressed RVs on the side of the road, tents, camping, etc. And it's hard to explain to individuals that we have this resource available with 16 current applicants wanting to fill it, and yet it remains unfilled. While in the same breath, we hear concerns from individuals up here claiming that we are doing nothing to assist and protect the citizens. So I struggle with that. And, it's important that we acknowledge these things. And, I think when we brought this up in the last time, the sheriff, he stated that he was not filling the position because he was focused on filling corrections deputies. And my issue with that is when you are a leader or when you have leadership or oversight over multiple services, we can't we can't be just addressing one at a time when there's multiple functions that need to be occurring.
Yeah, it's called chewing gum and walking.
Well, it's something we have to pay attention. It would just be cognizant of. And so, I just want to reiterate that to the community that we do have this position available, and we do have several qualified applicants, and we remain hopeful that the position will get filled. I think the entire county remains hopeful that they will fill that, as it is a priority. Next up is the Director of County Operations update. And I feel like we've gotten a lot of it.
I think we got most of it. The only thing I had made a note of that we didn't really talk about was just to let everybody know on the overroad closure up there. We've been working with ODOT. We've been working with FEMA. We did send in a proposal as directed by ODOT. We sent that in, I believe, yesterday. We're hoping to hear something today. I didn't get anything back today, but maybe by tomorrow, to do a repair on that culvert and get it open. We're asking for a waiver of the in-water work period so that we can get that addressed, just to bring it back to its original standard, and then we'll go from there. The problem with building, doing more than that right now is that the fix that has been proposed is such a vast improvement, and it would be millions of dollars. And it's a great example of why it's important that we do steward those road fund dollars, because if you're spending $3 million on culverts on little side roads and having to pay for most or all of that, we won't have road funds for very long. And as the funding situation changed for ODOT, all of a sudden the responsibility became Curry County's, because I guess it was assumed that we have money. Well, we won't have money for very long. We don't have that much money. We have to watch every dollar, and then that's why we have to make every loader last as long as we can. We have to do good maintenance. We have to hold people accountable, find out that we're operating correctly, that we're doing things right, and that's what the people at the road department have been doing a great job of, and I'm very proud of them. But they also are, their job is to safeguard the roads in Curry County to allow transportation. If we don't have that, we don't need anything else. We don't need patrol. We won't be able to get anywhere. And so I just wanted to say that's what we're working on. I think we're making some headway there, and I think we're going to be able to come in with a fix that's way more affordable than what was being proposed. That's what I've been working on.
Great, thank you. Commissioner updates. Me?
Sure. Yeah, I wanted to share that we've had a great opportunity with Lipsick to focus energy and talent on the issue of addictions, also law enforcement matters associated with low-level crimes, and how to take people who are struggling with walking on the right side of the road and have failures associated with their bad habits, their addictions, maybe even other health issues. The challenge is that we do have a criminal element surrounding the matters of bad habits and addictions. We have that bad behavior, but we really don't have the resources in order to respond to it in a corrective way. Principally, an example of the failure to be able to address that has to do with incarcerating these people who represent a pattern of life that's tied to drugs and alcohol and other kinds of really destructive behavior. They get shackled by law enforcement for misdeeds. They're put into jails, and do they get cured? No, they don't. It just does not happen. Our law enforcement agencies aren't set up to handle that kind of behavior, and yet here we live in a state that sort of is a nest bed for people who want to entertain and participate in a life of addictions. Well, a couple of years ago, the state woke up and provided, through Measure 110, the opportunity to have deflection programs that are made up of the interests and personnel associated within the criminal justice system as represented by our police departments, our sheriff's department, our district attorneys, our mental and behavioral health organizations, and we have an opportunity to create a way to find, through law enforcement engagement, people who perform low-level misdemeanors, and they are not put into jail, but rather they are deflected into a more healing avenue. So we most recently, just this last week, we had a subgroup from our Lipsick organization, which is composed of our local incorporated law enforcement personnel, obviously our brothers and sisters in the sheriff's organization, the district attorneys, the judges, our mental health, behavioral health people. We came together, a subgroup of Lipsick, came together, and we outlined a critical path for the next 90 days that will move us towards creating what's called a Curry County deflection effort. This is a maiden effort on our part, but I think it's important to recognize we are not the first one to take this path. We have other rural counties that have done this before us. They jumped on the bandwagon a year ago, 18 months ago, and now they have been up and running for a period of time. We've been in touch with those organizations and are using them as our guides, as our mentors in building our program. And we're going to start small. It'll be a pilot undertaking for a period of time, but I look forward to being able to come back to the commission meetings and be able to share the specifics relative to the growth of the infrastructure associated with deflection, but also be able to share with you some success stories where we have been able to meet our goals. And of course, in this situation, the proof is in the pudding. We're looking for men and women who once walked on the wrong side of the road and lived there in disgust, but now they're walking on the right side of the road. Not because they went to jail, but because the community resources were brought together in a healing and very caring capacity. So it'll be fun to watch come out of the ground. So thank you very much. The last thing I wanted to mention was that the vets on Veterans Day in Brookings have a great event going on down there. We're going to start around 10 a.m. there in Brookings. It'll be over at the VFW Post 966. It's their location on Pacific Avenue. I'll give you that address. It's 507 Pacific Avenue. Going to come together around 10 o'clock. Going to have a rifle team, honor guard, do great stuff to honor our veterans. They're also going to have a flyover. I think the flyover, if everything goes right according to schedule, the flyover will happen around 11 o'clock. And then once the flyover happens, we'll all go inside the new post there. They've got a fantastic new VFW post down there. It's not a new building or new to them, but they have really tricked it out in a wonderful way. And they're going to be serving refreshments for everybody that attends. And I hope we have a big crowd in Brookings at 10 o'clock. That's
Well,
it.
And I'll piggyback on the Veterans Day. For here in Gold Beach, the local VFW is going to have a service at the memorial on the south end of Gold Beach on Veterans Day at 11 a.m. And they'll have some guest speakers and be able to honor our veterans. So I look forward to that again.
Great. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, sorry, were you finished?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I have a few things. I ran into a gentleman yesterday who is a search and rescue diver for Coos County. And so we got to talking a little bit about the accident that happened to our local community members here back on August 31st. And he expressed a lot of his frustrations with how things were handled, not only but locally, but from the Coast Guard as well. Coos County just collaborated with the Coast Guard again here recently to have their search and rescue divers go with the Coast Guard and dive with the Coast Guard during active rescue missions. We don't have that here. We have several search and rescue divers here locally, and I think that we need to schedule a workshop with search and rescue, with our divers, and possibly with Coos County as well, to see how they collaborated with the Coast Guard in order to get our divers to go out with them. Because in speaking with the Coast Guard does not dive. They do not go underwater. So we would need to have a local team to do that job. Coos County has that. We should work with the Coast Guard to be able to provide that here. This gentleman who I spoke with yesterday said that if we had that collaboration with the Coast Guard, he doesn't have a doubt in his mind that those two gentlemen could have been saved. So I think that's something that we need to discuss in a workshop and put that together with the Coast Guard, with Coos County, and with our local SAR or sheriff, and discuss, because I think we can make that happen. I have no other Coast Guard update currently due to the federal shutdown. There's been no action on that front federally. Talked about the Veterans Day thing. We do have our annual conference coming up in about a week and a half for AOC. I very much look forward to attending that, and again, meeting and networking with several of the state agencies and other commissioners. It's always great to bounce ideas off each other, see what other counties are doing differently, whether it's funding or what they're maybe doing efficiently in certain departments. And but also I'm hopeful to be able to meet with the Oregon Department of Forestry gentleman that I've been talking with on a regular basis regarding our stewardship and Good Neighbor Authority agreement, it's still in motion. No real major updates on that, other than Ted and I and Rabia are still working on our scope of work for those roads, which is quite a bit of work. And also, based off of our district meeting that we had, our AOC district meeting we had, I guess it's been almost 2 months ago now. I had a follow-up call with Director Nickel, and they had a very good, productive meeting with the Ford Family Foundation, because they had mentioned to us that they want to help rural counties in regards to a big initiative, whether it's funding, whether it's housing, whether it's A, B, C, D, or E. So during their meeting, they discussed wanting to do one thing that would benefit all of the counties. And that's in regards to housing. And one of the struggles that rural counties have with housing is our zoning. A lot of rural counties are zoned forest ag, which in a lot of instances, and especially our county, make it very hard to develop on. So they're going to keep working, AOC and Ford Family Foundation, to put together a plan to take to the state and take to legislature to try to change land use and zoning regulations at the state level so that it makes it easier for people to build. So I thought that's a pretty gigantic undertaking, and I wish them all the luck in the world, and I hope they're successful with it, because if we can get a lot of those zoning rules changed, then there could be a lot more housing for Oregon and for everybody who needs it.
I agree.
So,
Thank you.
I'm going to keep on that, and there might be an announcement. I don't know yet. Maybe at the annual conference in a couple weeks. So we'll see. And the last item I had was thank you guys for stepping up and covering my absence last week.
You were gone?
I took the family on a little vacation, and kids are homeschooled, and we're big history buffs, and we like to get out and explore education hands-on as much as we can, and we do a lot of our trips around that. So one of my favorite places in the entire world to go to is Virginia City, Nevada. It is a living historical landmark, and it's an old mining town that's still in operation to this day. You can walk down Main Street there, and all of the original structures are there. There's still the bars, the saloons, the restaurants, the clothing shops, you name it. It's all,
like going to Tombstone,
it's
Arizona.
like going to Tombstone, but I think this is on a more grand scale. And anyways, a lot of people don't know. Going
You
back,
got some fancy
so
boots.
I got some fancy boots. It's got some fancy boots, but a lot of people don't know that Mark Twain got his pen name from when he was working for the Territorial Enterprise newspaper in Virginia City. That's where Mark Twain came about. And so I find that very fascinating. And in the Mark Twain Museum building, the old Territorial Enterprise building there on Main Street, they have a little, like you've seen that movie Big, where he wishes and the thing comes out and it comes true. One of those type of machines, those genie machines, tell you your fortune. Well, they had one of those in there, but it was Mark Twain, and he was, you put your dollar in and you get a quote. I was like, you know what? I'm a quote guy. I'm a quote guy. So I put in $2 because I wanted 2 Mark Twain quotes. And it's fascinating to me that the 2 quotes that it gave me are so relevant to what we have going on here. So I want to read the first one. A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is putting on its shoes. Boy, that's very relevant now. And you know, I like this one. This one was great. And this had a lot of relevance to a couple of our public speakers tonight. It says, I have found there are times when it is better to remain silent and appear ignorant than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Oh, I like that one. So, anyways, I will end on that quote, those two quotes from Mark Twain, and I look forward to my next history trip with the kids back to Virginia City. And keep breaking in these new boots. They're pretty sweet.
Good. Thank you.
Yep.
I don't have much other than what we've discussed. So, but one of the things that is pertinent to this group right here is both of you will be out at AOC during our November 18th BOC meeting. We need to reschedule that. Now we have some choices here. We can move it to the next week, which would be Thanksgiving week, or we just put it onto the December 3rd agenda, and we have a special meeting during November on a date that we can all be there that would maybe address some supplemental things that have come up and the board order. So, I mean, I'm open to a reschedule. I'm open to putting it off onto the December 3rd. I will also want to make the public aware that the December 3rd agenda is going to be coming out on the Monday of that week, not the normal Friday as everybody is used to, because the individual who manages the publication of the agenda is out during that time. And so we do have a 24-hour rule, a law. It has to be noticed within 24 hours. We obviously notice things way ahead in advance, which oftentimes leads to so many amendas to the agendas, right? So, but I just wanted to make the public aware so that they know on Friday of the week prior that it's going to be coming out on that upcoming Monday. But what say you guys about the November 18th meeting?
I have no problem just rolling it to the December 3rd or December 4th meeting. And if we need to have we're going to have a special meeting to address this board order in the next week or so.
Yeah.
It shouldn't even take that long, but I think we just roll it to the next meeting.
To the 3rd.
Yeah.
Unless there's something that absolutely pressing is coming up,
Yeah, correct.
and then we will we'll schedule a special meeting.
Yep.
Okay. I am fine with that as well. Okay. With that, it is 8:02 on the 5th of November, and I will adjourn this Board of Commissioners